Let's compare the new iPhone 17 versus iPhone 13 and see if it's actually worth upgrading to the new iPhone 17. So first, when it comes to the price, there's absolutely massive difference between these phones. So a few days ago for the new iPhone 17, I paid exactly 1,000 euros, which absolutely crazy. And also for this iPhone 13, maybe like a half a year ago, in pretty much perfect condition, with also very good battery health, I paid only 200 euros. So literally like 5 times price difference between these. So first, maybe let's start with the biggest difference in these phones, and that is the screen. Obviously, as you see on this new iPhone, we also get much larger screen, so we get 6.3 inch display here. As you see on this one, we get 6.1 inch display. But if you actually compare the size of the phone, so you see they're actually like almost very similar. So maybe like a tiny fraction larger on this one, but still, as you see. So yeah, as you see, when you look at the bezels on the 13, the bezel difference is absolutely insane between these phones. So that's where you are actually gaining like extra screen estate, but at the same time still keeping like very compact body. So yeah, when it comes to the bezels, as you see on this phone, there aren't pretty much any bezels whatsoever. Also, another huge upgrade on the iPhone 17 is we also get 120 Hz display as well. So when we check basically the smoothness, you can definitely probably even tell in the video that the 17 feels smoother when you actually browse it. However, let's be real, iPhone 13 still actually feels like a very solid and smooth phone compared to the iPhone 17. By the way, also on iPhone 17 we also get much brighter display as well. So when it comes to nits, this gets 3000 nit brightness display versus iPhone 13 only 1200, so more than 2 times the difference. But when it comes to normal conditions, actually the brightness is still actually plenty on the iPhone 13. And this is what displays on both look like on the highest brightness. You can definitely tell that the bezels are absolutely massive on the 13. But yeah, when it comes to the actual like visibility outdoors, I'm not actually seeing any problem whatsoever with the 13. And this is what both look like in completely direct sunlight. In direct sunlight, obviously, we can actually tell obvious difference here. When it comes to the design and build quality, both phones actually look really decent. Obviously, the much newer design on the 17, looks more modern, obviously. Also, I much prefer the back of it as well, since it doesn't attract any fingerprints, whereas this is obviously like totally reflective glass back here, which attracts fingerprints like absolutely crazy. So when it comes to the frame quality, again, this finish actually tiny feels better. When it comes to thickness, so can you actually tell much difference between these phones? So I feel pretty much similar. When it comes to the button quality, definitely actually maybe tiny bit better on the new one. But again, so this is still like very high-end phones essentially, so it's very decent quality. So obviously we get Type-C on the new 17 versus the Lightning port, but also obviously the camera control button. But to be honest, it's completely useless on this phone and I'm not actually using it. So really, they could even like leave it out, and I do not think anyone would mind. Also, obviously, we have the action button here on this new one as well, whereas simply like the silent switch here. So yeah, when it comes to the design, build quality, both phones are actually like incredibly solid. Obviously, new design, which looks absolutely awesome. So yeah, this has been going on for a few years. When it comes to performance and raw horsepower, as you see, so the 17 is almost like 2 times like more powerful essentially. So if you check the mode score here, single score, maybe not 2 times, but I think there's actually like very decent improvement. Also, this only has got 4 gigabytes of RAM, while this has got 8 gigabytes of RAM. But when it comes to the actual like real world performance, basically how they feel, I still think the iPhone 13 actually still feels very solid, even if you compare side by side to the iPhone 17. Obviously, when you are loading higher demanding apps, obviously you will be able to tell the difference. So let me show you. And I have all my background apps closed, and let's simply launch some random apps. So see, actually very close here. I'm going to let them run in the background. So you can see obviously the 17 is faster obviously, but is that huge difference? So I do not really think that's a massive difference here. So you see, so almost the same now. And let's also launch a game here. So yep, definitely 17. But again, so that's not really a huge difference considering, yeah, the age difference between these phones. And also, for example, settings. Apologies. Let's close this. Camera. Pretty much the same. And also, let's repeat once more. Basically, as you see, I have all the apps in the background, so it should be actually faster on the iPhone 13 now than previously. So you see, pretty much identical. As you see, again, identical. Yep. Yeah. As you see, there's literally zero difference now. So yeah, so obviously when you launch the app for the first time, it is going to be slightly faster, but again, it's actually not that fast as you could see. But when it comes to like all the apps you have in the background, so when you are simply switching between the different apps, as you see, there is pretty much like zero difference whatsoever between these phones. So as you saw, even though the new iPhone 17 on paper is obviously much more powerful, also more RAM, and also much better display, in real life, the actual like difference really, so again, you really have to like look side by side, have both phones, and then of course you'll be able to tell difference. But again, so the difference actually isn't that huge at all, and the iPhone 13, even 2025, actually still feels like very, very solid phone, and also very responsive. So again, I really have like pretty much zero complaints basically, especially on this iOS 26. This one again, so you can definitely tell that it feels like faster when you actually use both side by side. So again, it's actually like reasonably fast phone overall, so I can't really complain. Also, for example, something like video export times, where again you need like very like huge amounts of raw horsepower. Again, it would be like, yeah, better on this one. But again, when it comes to everyday tasks like simple apps like email, photos, and stuff like that, really, calculator, alarms, clocks, so really, so as you saw, there isn't actually much difference between these two phones. And when it comes to cameras, it's actually also a very similar story, even though we get actually slightly larger sensors, also more megapixels on the new iPhone 17. The actual camera performance actually is also like very, very similar on these phones. So also, for example, if we, for example, check resolution on both phones, we get 4K 60 frames per second maximum. So again, we do not get anything more on this new phone essentially. On the video mode, for example, here we have this new dual recording. So for example, you see, you can actually record with your selfie camera at the same time and also your rear camera essentially. So you see, basically, I'm recording basically two videos at the same time. But honestly, I have had this same feature on my Samsung phone for literally like maybe like 5 years already, maybe even more, and I have used it maybe like 1 or 2 times. So again, it's more like a gimmick. When it comes to selfie camera, yep, this actually has got significantly better selfie camera, at least the technology basically of it. So on the 13, basically these selfie cameras are something like this. So in this format, essentially the sensor of it. So it's actually not versatile if you basically want to record like normal videos in, yeah, basically on your selfie camera. Whereas on the 17, basically the selfie sensor is actually like way larger essentially, and also it's totally like a square essentially. So what that allows to do is when we actually launch the camera app, switch to the selfie mode here. So you see, if you click this button over here, you can also switch to record in this mode. So I think this is actually like very decent features that actually I'm going to use. So I think this is actually like a decent feature. Of course, we can't get this feature on this phone. But apart from that, really, And also on this new phone, also the autofocus is also like absolutely superb. So out of any phone I have had, this easily has got the best autofocus. But again, if you compare to the iPhone 13, the autofocus also on it was like very solid. So I really had no complaints. Again, it was one of the best phones out there. Overall exposure, dynamic range, also like tiny bit better indeed actually on this new one. But so let me simply show you some samples I have recorded with both. Okay, and I have both phones now side by side in the same setup I was filming previously. By the way, previously I was filming on my Google Pixel phone, so you can even compare how these compare to the Pixel as well. But yeah, when it comes to the autofocus exposure, I think both phones are actually like very solid. So easily one of the best phones out there in the market. And if we check fine details here, as you see, on both, yeah, really no complaints whatsoever. So if you want basically film maybe videos like these, with these cameras really, so you can even get away with the iPhone 13, as you see. Again, if you have like good light, there isn't actually that huge of a difference between these two phones, I would say. And also when it comes to color exposure, again, actually very solid on both phones as well. And let's also check out how it performs outdoors. So it's also a very similar situation outdoors. If we check the exposure recovery, you see also very similar here indeed. Yeah, considering the age of this phone, I think it still performs like excellent. And also let's try to run a bit. So you see, stabilization also very solid on both. And when we check the overall colors, again, very similar actually on both devices. And let's try to run a bit more. Also, when it comes to microphones, also the iPhone 17 actually has got a tiny bit better microphones as well. When you are filming videos, you can also definitely hear that. Also, when it comes to speakers, I would say the iPhone 17 actually probably has the best speakers I have actually heard on any phone. Also, probably even better than on the past iPhone 16 Pro as well. So speakers definitely are actually like significant upgrade actually over this one. And probably the biggest difference for most people actually for these phones would be in the battery life, since obviously this is like more older phone, and for most people obviously the battery already would be degraded a bit. So first, when it comes to specs, actually the spec difference actually isn't that huge between these phones. So you see on the 17 we only get 14% larger battery. So again, so that's actually like very small improvement. So I was actually quite shocked by just how small. Also, when it comes to charging speeds, also the 17 also charges slightly faster, so we can charge it up basically from 0 to 50% in only 20 minutes. But for that you also need basically the faster charger, so if you have basically like older charger, yeah, you probably will have to upgrade it. Also, wireless charging also is faster on this one, but again, so yeah, not that much really. So, but if your battery is really still solid on your iPhone 13, so again, with this 87% battery health I have over here, I would estimate maybe the battery life in total is maybe like 30% better over this one. So again, this is like 4 years old model, and maybe like 30% better battery life. But again, if you had maybe like a new battery in this phone, again, the gap wouldn't even be that huge. So again, it really depends on how degraded your battery is, and also what the condition overall is on your phone. So if the condition of your phone is like still very solid, just like I have on mine, then again, I don't actually see like like huge point actually upgrading, and you can definitely even keep, I think, this iPhone 13 for still like probably a couple years, because again we are getting obviously like still some software updates, especially for probably next 2-3 years at least, maybe even more, who knows really. So yeah, if you're wondering which phone to get, so again, if your iPhone 13 is completely busted with very bad battery, and again it's not worth repairing, definitely I think the new iPhone 17 is actually like very solid phone. So I think it's also like one of the best like phones Apple has recently released. I think the latest actually like very decent upgrade over the past models was definitely the iPhone 13. Before that maybe the iPhone 10, but the iPhone 14, 15, 16 really, they were pretty much the same phone. But on this one obviously we get way better like display quality. Also yeah, you see it looks, yeah, absolutely stunning, this display on this phone. Also obviously much larger. Also obviously we get 256 gigabytes base storage on the new iPhone 17 as well, which is absolutely awesome. But again, for most people, let's be real, if your iPhone 13 is still in good condition with good battery, there is actually like very little point to actually upgrade unless you really want this new design. Basically, when it comes to performance and what it can do for most casual user, I think this iPhone 13 is still like absolutely brilliant phone, and it will be still good for probably maybe even up to maybe like iPhone 20 when it releases. So yeah, if your battery condition is good, or you can simply like change the battery, I do not think you will actually have much problems with this phone going forward. Again, when it comes to like actual real world like performance difference between these phones, it's actually quite marginal. So yeah, hope this helps. Good luck everyone.